Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I see folks are signing on at this time. We will start our program in approximately 4 minutes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are still having our attendees sign on. We will start our program in about 3 minutes. For those of you folks who are just joined us, we're waiting a few more minutes to make sure we get everyone signed on. Our program will start in about 2 minutes. Hello again, everyone. It's Colonel Vara. We will be starting our program in about 1 minute. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is SMA Colonel Tom Vara. We have our 7th and 8th grade parents with us tonight, and most of you are returners to our campus. I'm sure we have some new folks with us as well. So some of this information is going to be very new for everyone, and some of this information is going to be a repeat of what you already know about our campus, just to reiterate, just to make sure everyone is on the same page with what we're doing moving forward. Tonight's program is being recorded. So if you need to go back to it, if you want to listen to it again, to get more information or to re-listen to what we were talking about, it will be posted tomorrow, and we'll have that information for you. We do have a great program for you tonight, and I'm going to introduce our speakers, and then I will start the program. We have Colonel Lee, Assistant Head of School, SEL Coordinator, in charge of school discipline and safety and security on our campus. You'll hear from Dr. Todd Brown, the Director of Community Engagement and Impact. You'll hear from Major Becky Morris, Assistant Head of School and Technology Integration, and SMA Major Lisa Curry, assistant head of school, instructional design and curriculum. Before we get into the meat of the program tonight, I just want to talk to folks a little bit about this year is going to take a lot of patience and a lot of flexibility in getting through certainly the beginning of the year. And we anticipate this to be a little bit of a different year as we move forward with different types of procedures and policies. And there's changes that are happening all the time. We had 2 changes specifically happen yesterday that actually even altered the presentation just a little bit. So we're able to get you the proper information as we move forward tonight. So let me get started on the program. Our school hours, ladies and gentlemen, are, obviously it has not changed for the folks that are on our campus. We need to have everyone on campus by 9 a.m. and our distance learners must sign in by 9:15 a.m. into their Google Classroom. And again, our 7th and 8th graders should know what that looks like, but you'll hear more about that as we move on. We will be doing temperature checks before cadets come onto our campus. Cadets, if you come through the parent drop-off loop, you're going to stay in your car, and we'll take your temperature from inside your car. If everything is good, you can get out. We will go to the 2 areas, whether it be the cafeteria for breakfast or to the gymnasium. And obviously those who are over that limit would go home at that point. Bus riders will take their temperature as well. If for some reason they are over that number limit, we will get them into the clinic. We will process them, and those individuals will be going home, and a parent will need to come pick them up. And we'll talk about that in a minute. All cadets must wear face masks, mask covering on his campus. Colonel Lee's going to go over more specifics of that as we move forward. As you can see, you can wear a lanyard to hold your mask. Colonel Lee will talk more about that. But you may also wear a face shield, but that's in addition to a face mask. All right, morning care cadets and late arrivals, you will enter through the main office as we normally do. You'll get your temperature check there and then be admitted onto our campus. Okay. Our daily, routines and daily procedures are going to go into the morning specifically. When you come onto the campus, like we said before, you have 2 places to go, one the cafeteria for breakfast or to the gymnasium. Okay. The first 2 days of school, we will not be holding formation. We're anticipating day 3 to be able to do that. We want to get cadets on campus. We're not sure how long that's actually going to take for us. And we want to get people settled in. And then probably day 3, we will start our normal formation. And as you can see, no visitors will be coming onto our campus for the beginning of the year. Moving forward into our lunch and breakfast procedures. Breakfast, we kind of talked about a little bit already. We will still be holding 2 lunches, A and B lunch. All 7th graders will eat during your B lunch, and our 8th graders are divided. And we'll talk a little bit more a little bit later how you can figure out which one is your lunch for the 8th graders. If you're doing the lunch line, we're going to have cadets at 6 feet apart going through that lunch line. And then we are going to have tables inside and outside with limited seating in those particular areas. So it might get a little difficult to get everyone seated, but we're also going to open up the gymnasium to allow folks to sit in our bleachers and eat their lunch there. And again, our 8th graders will always have that option to sit at the picnic tables. However, we are limiting the seating there to only 4 people at the table, 1 on each seat. And you folks know what I'm talking about for those outside seating areas, okay? We'll also allow folks to sit outside a little bit against the walls to make sure we have as much distancing as possible during our lunch times. Moving on to classroom procedures, what that looks like. When your cadets get to your next class or your first period class, whatever it happens to be, the doors should be propped open. So we don't want people opening and closing doors. We want to do that as limited as possible. We're going to space our cadets as far apart as possible during those particular periods. But as you know, when we have 17, 18, 19 cadets, if that's what we have on campus, it's going to be a little tight in those rooms, and we will distance as much as possible. We will not have hall passes or agendas this year. So if the cadets need to use the bathroom or go to the main office, you will just use a sign out sheet in the classroom, use your own pen or pencil to sign yourself out, and then you'll be able to leave and go to wherever you need to go without a specific pass this year. We're also working on limiting the amount of paper that we transport back and forth to each other, whether that be to cadet, or even to teachers, and your teachers will work on that with you in your specific classrooms. We're also working on mask breaks throughout the day. In your military studies and design class would be one, and your PE and elective would be another. And then obviously while you're eating your lunch, while you're actively eating your lunch, you'll be able to take your mask off during that time as well. So I know it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we need to do that for all of us to be safe. Moving on, cleaning procedures. We're going to have our teachers cleaning classrooms, quite a bit during the day. In between classes, we will have hand sanitizers in every classroom. We will have teachers spraying and desk and chairs down. We will have deep cleaning going on every weekend with a fogger machine. We will have an area for clean pencils and used pencils if a cadet actually does need one. But we are really stressing that you come to school every day with a pen and pencil and all the supplies that you need, so we don't have to, share those during the day as well. So again, as you can see, no sharing of materials, or limited as much as we possibly can. Our passing time this year is going to be staggered. We are going to move our people through period to period with a staggered bell time. And what that means for us is that we'll tell you when you get here. This is more for our cadets that are on campus, obviously. The odd number classes will leave at a certain time, and a minute later, the even number classes. What we really need to stress to you folks on campus the most is that we can't have the congregation that we've had in the past where cadets kind of sit and talk in between those periods. Your feet have to be moving. We got to get you to those classes as quickly as possible in between those particular periods. Something really new for you this year would be one-way directionals through breezeways. All right. As you know, in the past, the breezeways have been an area that we get a lot of folks moving through in different directions. So we're only going to allow one way through the breezeways, and you'll see those arrows clearly marked when you get onto campus. We just ask you to follow these procedures each and every day as closely as possible so we can keep everyone safe. We greatly appreciate it. That's it as far as passing time is concerned. Let's talk a little bit about clinic procedures and health forms. As we mentioned before, and this is really not a new policy for our campus. The only thing new is that we're actually going to be temperature checking. Even pre-COVID, if you had a 100.4 or higher, you were mandated to leave the campus. We can't keep you here by county policy. We're obviously much more in tune to that now in the COVID world. So what this reads, and this is directly from the county right now, students with a temp of 100.4 or higher must go home and cannot return until the symptoms are resolved and the cadet is fever-free without fever-reducing medication for 24 hours. Okay, so we ask parents to please take care of that if your cadet has to either go home or is home with a fever. If your cadet is on campus and does have a fever or comes off a bus and has a fever and has to go home or have any COVID symptoms that we're sending a cadet home, we need you to be able to get to your cadet and get them off the campus as soon as possible. And we're saying a max time of 30 minutes. I know sometimes you may be working 45 minutes away. We understand that. But what we do ask is that you have alternative options to get your cadet off campus if there is an emergency and we have to get your cadet off the campus. So please start working on that now. At this point, I am going to take a quick break and I'm going to move it on to Colonel Lee to talk to you a little bit more about some more information. Again, Colonel Lee.
Thank you, Colonel Vera. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. Just to talk about a couple of brief things, policies, things that might be a little bit different from last year. As far as expectations and rules go, obviously, the vast majority of people here tonight are returning students. Policies on campus aren't going to change. We're going to still have the same high expectations of our cadets. But what will really take focus this year is going to be safety. The one real big priority when it comes to rules on campus, discipline, things like that, is going to come down to safe behavior. We really want cadets to respect the mask policy, keep your masks on at all the time. There may be brief breaks for mask breaks. I know the question came up earlier in chat. Again, we're not looking to have long breaks without masks. Having a mask on is as safe as you're going to be at school. So we're going to try to keep those masks on as long as possible, as much as possible. So as far as breaks go, they will be brief, just a chance to take it off, get comfortable, get back on. Uniform and dress code. Oh, I'm sorry. And also just another thing, as far as being serious on campus, we will not be tolerant of joking around about having COVID. This student has COVID. I'm going to give you COVID. That's not something we're looking forward to having happen on campus this year. So again, when it comes to discipline, that is going to be a major priority of ours, is making sure people are being safe and acting mature about the safety. As far as uniform and dress code, the first and foremost is our mask policy. We have adopted the same the policy of the district. As far as masks go, cloth masks, no neck gaiters, no buffs, no masks with one-way valves. Those are the three categories that really they've said we cannot have. So again, neck gaiters, buffs, masks with one-way valves. Those are the kind you see on a painter or a carpenter would wear in a workshop. But again, we will be distributing one mask to all cadets when they come on campus on Monday. Please come with your own mask at first, because we're not going to be able to give you one until you get to homeroom and you'll have already been on campus for a little while. I recommend having a lanyard. This is my personal thing for your mask, because if you take your mask off, it doesn't have to lay on a table or a desk. You can have it hanging from your lanyard. It stays a little bit closer to you. You won't lose it. You keep it safe and clean. Uniform is going to be a little bit different this year. For the start of school, we're asking that all cadets wear their polo uniform for the first 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks of school this year, everybody will be in their polo uniform. After those first 2 weeks, we're going to move to our normalized schedule for uniforms. It will be a little bit different from last year. There will be a rotation between Class Bs, our dress uniform, and polo uniforms. I don't want to get into all the details of uniforms today or tonight. Please go to our cadet handbook, which is on our website. I believe Major Curry will show us that, everybody, where that is later. Please go there for specifics on uniforms, the days of the week for which uniforms to wear, and if there's any questions about proper wear of the uniform, it will all be on there. Again, you will not get a paper agenda book this year with the uniform policies in it. Just with COVID and other so many changes going on, it's not worth it to publish one. So we are going digital. So please, the cadet handbook is on the website. Uniform dress code policies are on the website. Please go there for that information. Also, as well as technology here, we are not going to change our technology policy for students at the start of the school year. So as of now, you're still not allowed to bring cell phones and use them on campus. If you bring technology to school, it's off and away until the end of the school day. If a need arises later that we might want to open some of those things up, that's a discussion for later on. As of now, the technology policies are not going to change. You still need headphones or earbuds at school. And again, if you bring technology, it's off and away during the school day. The last thing I just want to touch on briefly is our homeroom and SEL. SEL is social emotional learning. Given all the stress and all the worry that we've been going through, and we know that students are experiencing, we're going to have a strong priority of focusing on social emotional learning this year. We've extended our homeroom time, and we're going to spend a lot more time in homeroom, giving students a chance to voice what they've been going through, have a chance to decompress, even a little bit of socializing. We have people on campus that are willing to and ready to go when it comes to dealing with COVID-related stressors. Our counselors are ready to go. We have several people in place that can help talk with students if there are any specific issues or worries they're coming to school with, help with anxiety that we might be experiencing coming back onto campus. And the social emotional learning is going to become a really big part of what we're doing here. We started with the launch last year on our social emotional learning plan. We went through some studies with our teachers dealing with trauma and dealing with trauma with students in the classroom. And this year, we're going to be even more explicit. We're going to go week by week in teaching students and cadets about different social emotional learning skills, proper communication, how to have grit, deal with trouble and adversity. And each week, we're going to be working on that. And on top of that, we're going to have some wonderful speakers that are going to come and talk to us or Zoom in and talk to us on campus that will, again, help students feel a little more comfortable on campus, feel a little bit better about what they're going through. And Dr. Todd Brown will talk about those in just a few minutes with you. But for now, I'm going to turn it back over to Colonel.
Turn it over to me.
There we go. Colonel Vera.
All right. Okay, thank you. Two things before I turn the program over to Dr. Brown. Number one, just to piggyback off what Colonel Lee was saying, really at the end of the day, no matter what you or I or we think about the pandemic, the virus, the mask policy, those type of things, we have over 400 students and staff on this campus, and we are a public facility. We have to take this seriously. We have to take everyone's safety into account. And we do know at times kids are going to get within that 6 feet distance, but we're going to work very hard to make sure that they're not, and the mask as well. So we really need your support on that. And you're going to hear this often tonight. Much of the information to what we're talking about and to answer your questions will be on our website. So please make sure you tune into that website and you'll get many of your questions answered through that particular site. Okay.
Colonel Vera?
Mike, I'm sorry.
My apologies. I'm going to jump back in. Just there's one thing that jumped into the chat really fast. Distance learners, we're asking to follow the dress down day dress code. So again, we're not asking you to be in a full uniform, but we are asking you to put on that decent outfit. So follow the dress down day code rules that are in the agenda book and the cadet handbook.
Yes, that is correct. They're not mandated to wear their uniform, but they do need to look respectful. So thank you. Okay, at this time, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Colonel Vera. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you briefly here real quick on two different things, really. One is COVID, obviously, and what we're dealing with and how we're going to deal with it on campus and hopefully create a safety or a safe campus as much as we can with a couple of different mitigation strategies that will not be available any other place but SMA. So give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get into what I'm talking about. So the first, again, thumbs up, we're good? Yes, awesome. Okay, awesome. So the first thing, like I said, is the COVID situation and what we're going to be doing on campus and what you have the option to be a part of. And I use the word option, it's important. This is not a mandated situation, but the more people that are involved in the programs, the more robust the programs can be, and the safer we can keep our campus throughout the year. So it's important for the people that have not seen this, and if you have, I want to throw out a little bit different scenario here and explain this. So it's important when we look at our campus with our students, our staff, and then parents, guardians, relatives, things like that that live in a household, and then extended family within our community. It's hugely important to understand that our campus will be safe until a pathogen such as COVID comes onto campus. And what ends up happening is if we don't break the transmissions events, if we don't identify these cases quickly, what ends up happening is we become an epicenter for the community. In other words, what we're talking about is it begins to proliferate and spread within the campus, and then people are they're going on buses, they're getting back to their houses, they're visiting relatives and moving around the community. And what ends up happening again is we see these situations in which 1 or 2 people can be responsible for a massive outbreak. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. So what they're calling Conference A now, this actually just came out in the media, I think today, yesterday, something like that. We've been looking at this for a while. In Boston in late February, Conference A it was an international conference in which 100 people tested positive. And through genomic sequencing and knowing exactly what sequence that COVID individual, what sequence that individual had, we now know that 33% of the outbreak in Boston, 3% of the entire United States, and 2% of the entire planet came from one person from Italy that attended this conference. And it actually decimated the Boston homeless population and got into the Los Angeles homeless population just from one person attending this event. So while this event was international, when you think about it from a community standpoint, when you have one person, whether it be a student or a teacher, entering campus, if we don't break the transmission chain through identification and helping people out with contacts, then we provide the virus an opportunity to spread rapidly, and then people begin to go back into the community, and we become again an epicenter, which is quite dangerous. So this isn't about Big Brother watching you or anything like that. What this is trying to keep our campus as safe as we can for as long as we can, and hopefully maintain or control something if it happens to pop up on our campus very quickly so it doesn't spread and shut down our entire school for an extended period of time. So we have a couple of different things you may have seen in the newspaper or on TV. We're going to be launching, again, this is an opt-in situation. We're going to start it with the staff and administrative staff first, and then we're going to extend it to parents and guardians, and you can track symptoms for yourself and for your student. if you choose to. So what would end up happening is we would send you an SMS or a text message. When you log in through that message, you will be taken to the Scout page. You can put in your email and password, whatever one you want to create. We will not be able to see any of this. It will be that you will enter into the system. Once you're into the system, for each person in your household, if you choose to, you can now determine what symptoms, if you have any, at any given day. And even if you have a fever, you can register what fever that is, what degree it is. And then it auto-populates into the center down here where we have July. It'll start auto-populating color-coded information so we can see who has what symptoms when. Are they in school? Are they not in school? And from there, we can actually start looking at attendance. We can start looking at class schedules, and then we can also start looking at seating charts. So we have an understanding. Again, it's anonymous to anyone on the outside, but from the administrator standpoint, we can start to see who is showing symptoms, what kind of symptoms, where they're traveling and where they're located. Or if they're at home, we can now get a little bit more information to start to provide an opportunity for our school and parents and other students to break these potential transmission chains. And there's just two options too. When we talk about the next one over here, the blue screen, we can actually, you can have everything de-identified. So in other words, no one knows your name, no one knows your contacts or anything like that except the system administrator. So we have an understanding, again, who to prioritize if there needs to be testing or if there's something popping up that looks suspicious or looks more like COVID. How are we going to figure that out? Right now, we have over 1 million data points, and we're building an algorithm that will tell us what combinations of symptoms has a higher percentage of turning out to be COVID versus something else. Because we all know in schools that COVID is not the only thing that may be circulating around the community. So we need to make sure we can try to discern between all of these things. The other thing within that blue screen is you can opt to have your name in there, and then any contacts that you enter, you personally enter, you can notify them if something is happening. Hey, I'm positive, I want to give you this heads up. Or, hey, listen, I've got these symptoms, I haven't been tested yet, but I just want to let you know to give an early warning sign. But that is up to you how you want to handle it. This is very intuitive, very easy to use, and it's hugely privacy-based. That is something that's important. And then the last screen, I'll show you just basically this last phone over here with the little dots. Really, these are social circles and what kind of symptoms are popping up, and it has to do with positive tests and things of that nature. So we have quite a bit of information that can be that we can collect and look through. We can scale this up. The district health, the top left, we can scale this up to the entire district, or we can scale it up to, like we're doing in Colorado, we will be scaling this to the entire state. In the middle, we have symptom review, so we can actually slide this bar back and forth to see if there's a change in symptoms or something is mutating or looking a little different, and then we can investigate that further. Test tracking, we can look at how many people are getting tested, how many people are positive, how many people are negative, all of these different situations, and we can start looking at that by school. And I'll get to the testing a little bit in a second here. Exposure review back in the bottom left. When you're looking at that, again, these are degrees of separation from students. So if somebody were to test positive or have a certain number of symptoms that looks like it may be COVID, then we will start to look at, okay, where was that student? When was the last time that student was in school or in class? What classroom? How many people were seated around? And then we can send out an anonymous warning that, hey, listen, there may be a potential case, just wanted you to know. It may be of interest to start tracking symptoms for yourself and your child. And then again, communication, which I just touched on. We can send out reminders for testing. We can send out if there's a positive case. We can send out if there's prioritization, meaning, listen, something is going through the school, but from what we've seen, there's no positive cases, so we know it's not COVID, things of that nature. And again, these are all opt-in, opt-out, but what we're trying to do is create a situation in which we can protect not only your student, but yourself, your household, and the community. If no one uses the system, it's meaningless. There's not a mitigation strategy out there right now that's perfect. But if we can layer different strategies on top of one another, then we have a better chance to cut transmission off. And it gives us time to react and put certain measures in place to keep as many people safe as we possibly can. So instead of somebody not knowing what's going on and then it's spreading everywhere, and we have to shut down the school for several weeks or the whole year, we have no idea. We want to be able to isolate very quickly, cut off transmission, and keep the school up and running for as many people as we can for as long as we can. And part of that, it has to do with testing. So right now we're in the midst of, I've been working pretty diligently with Harvard and MIT and Dr. Sabeti, Party Sabeti over up at the Broad Institute and the National Institute of Health, USF, actually, Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, Sarasota Memorial, Florida State University, a lot of different organizations. And we put this grant together, and what this grant would do for us is not only help run Scout, but it would allow us to run on-site testing. It would be saliva-based, so no nose swab where they scrub your brain. It would be saliva-based testing, and we could get results back in as little as about 45 minutes. We would have the capacity to run up to 100 tests a day on campus. All of this would be free. So the Scout program, the testing, diagnostics, we actually would be able to send out the samples, the anonymous samples, so it could be genomically sequenced. So we will see if there's any type of mutation going on down here. We could send that up to the Harvard lab that we're working with. Again, this is something that is, all the paperwork would be sent to you. It would be, you'd have to give your consent. The actual student would have to give assent. So everybody would be involved. It's optional. You do not have to take part in this. But again, this is something using the CRISPR technology that is above and beyond what is being used anywhere in the United States right now. And it gives us the opportunity, as well as you, instead of saying, hey, you know what, I don't feel well, maybe I should go get tested. I don't want to have to go drive to somewhere and sit in a car line for 2 or 3 hours and then wait 4 or 5 days until I get my results. This will be for students, staff, and families. So you would have access, and that goes for online as well. So not only just people on campus, but online, because we need to make sure we know what is going on where to help protect everybody in every household within the SMA family as much as we can. So these are just some of the mitigation strategies that we're putting in place on top of mask wearing, social distancing, and things like that. There is not a school in the entire United States that has access to doing this. So we are very, very fortunate, very excited about it. Again, this is all of this is opt-in. If you do not want to have any of this or be part of this, that is your decision. We will not force it on you by any means. But this is something that would provide an opportunity to keep the school open as long as we can and for as many students as we can. So I'm gonna flip the switch here a little bit because I know sometimes the COVID stuff can be a little crazy. I want to let you know that just like Colonel Lee said just a second ago with SEL or the social emotional learning, you know, we're in a crazy world right now. I think that there's no debate there. And a lot of students are going to be coming back, and there's going to be a lot of fear and uncertainty as to, are we going to stay open? You know, is there going to be a case? Who's going to get the case? You know, who's going to spread? What's going to happen? And all the while, we're going to have to be dealing with these existential or this external concern while being taught, you know, things like Pythagorean theorem. Don't worry about the elephant in the room and everything going on. Make sure you get this done as quick as you can. And we might be online in 3 days. We might not. So we really want to create a situation outside of the mitigation strategies. We want to look at and provide opportunities for the students to have a chance to kind of like decompress, push all this stuff off to the side, even if it's for an hour, and start to talk and be human and express concern and talk to different people about different things. So that's what we're launching is this year's Inspire project is going to be launching Project Human, which is going to be running through, it's going to go October through December. And again, just because it doesn't necessarily fit into the curriculum or science class doesn't mean there's not value. There's absolute value in having an opportunity to put things aside for a few minutes and enjoying yourself and talking and learning different skills as far as dealing with failure, really how to deal with success, communication skills, things of that nature are very important. And for the first time ever, not only is this going to be rolled out nationwide, so it's going to be a little wild this year, But I'm going to have former and current students will be actually helping run and moderating the webinars. So it's going to be an interesting situation. Everything will be virtual, obviously, this year. But this is how we're going to roll. So I'm going to just show you real quick and run through this because I know I could talk for an hour on this at least. So some of our guests, we have Dr. Janina Scarlett. She's a clinical psychologist. That's her giving a TED talk. She's in basically every Comic-Con you can imagine. And what she has done as a clinical psychologist, she writes graphic novels and also psychoanalyzes different characters from DC, Marvel, Harry Potter, to show people that just because you're different or you're having to deal with certain things doesn't mean it's not a bad thing. There's ways of coping. There's coping mechanisms. There's things that can be done to make you feel at peace and alleviate some of the situations and things that you have to deal with on a daily basis. So very interesting woman from the Ukraine, actually. So we have Jennifer Wright. She's a four-time best-selling author, and she's a comedy writer, writes TV shows. Her and her husband actually just got nominated for their 5th Emmy. And they've written for like Jon Stewart, The Daily Show, and things like that. She's also written a book that's pretty timely right now, entitled Get Well Soon. And it's looking at the worst plagues in history, but it's also talking about, it really shows the heroes that fought them and how they overcame these situations, even back in the 12 and 1300s. Some of the things that were amazing that people did that actually changed not only the pandemic or the plague, but the history of the world. So we're going to focus in a little bit and talk with her this year. So we also have a special message from somebody that I can't tell you. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that slide. I don't know who put that in. The next one is Elsa Chartier. Elsa is considered, she was the best female comic book artist in the world. She'll talk to us. She'll be calling us from Paris, so actually South France, and to talk about her career and what she's done and why she's done it. A really amazing individual, and obviously very art driven. He has her own series of comic books now, which is pretty cool. Next person is Jess Phoenix. Jess Phoenix is a National Geographic explorer and a member of the Explorers Club, and is considered to be the leading volcanologist, volcano expert in the world. So if anybody watched, speaking of Sarasota, anybody watched Nick Wallenda walk over the volcano and tightrope and do that crazy act on ABC this spring, she actually was the volcano expert during that ABC show. So she's also started a project which is just bananas. I'm very interested to hear what has to say about it. She is blueprinting the entire planet with a group of scientists. So that ought to be a pretty interesting discussion. Moving along, we have Abdi Nor-Iftin, American Book Award, best-selling author. His memoir, Call Me American, there's his TED Talk. Abdi has been great to us. We actually just published his memoir in a young adult version. So we will have some classes going through that, which is one of the most amazing stories I've ever read. He's the last Somali refugee allowed in the United States, and now as a best-selling author, he got into medical translations in different languages. A really, really interesting guy. So we'll talk to Abdi as well. We briefly talked to Christopher Sean last year, and he wanted to come back. So Christopher Sean is an actor. For those of you that watched any of the new Hawaii Five-0, which makes me laugh because he was the super evil bad guy, and he's the nicest, total opposite of what his character is. He also is the first Asian American lead actor in a Star Wars series in history that just got nominated for an Emmy. So that ought to be cool. And then for you video game players out there, the DC video game that's coming out or just come out, I think I can't keep track. Is it PS5, PS4? I'm sure 5. There you go. Thank you, Colonel Lee. PS5. Anyway, he is Gotham Knights. He is Nightwing. So he's got all kinds of talents that he'll share with us. And he's also from a military family. He's bounced around quite a bit. So interesting guy. Next to last person is Ksenia Simonova. She, for those people that have watched America's Got Talent, the World Championships, Britain's Got Talent, she's a Golden Buzzer winner on all of those shows, voted the best sand artist in the history of the world. And if you look at the top right picture over here, that is sand that she makes with just literally her bare hands. incredible. She's performed at the Olympics in front of the Queen of England, you name it, she's done it. So she'll talk to us, and she'll probably, talking to her, she'll probably call in from her art studio in the Ukraine. And last time we talked to her a few years ago, she actually was doing sand art while talking to us to show everybody how she does it. It was amazing. And then the last person that we'll be talking to, at least for now, you may or may not know, is a guy named Garth Brooks. So Garth will be calling in, and we'll be having a discussion with him about, again, we have to think about it this way. No matter who we're talking to, there is value in, how is this affecting you? What are you dealing with? What are you doing? Again, having the idea of talking to somebody like Garth Brooks, who was told early in his career that he was never going to be good enough and he should quit music, which didn't necessarily work out for that person. Garth's doing pretty well for himself. I think it was 6.7 million tickets he sold in his last tour alone. But when we speak to these people, there's an opportunity to start to understand that, what, just because I don't know what I want to do now doesn't necessarily mean a death sentence for me. There's always opportunity. There's always something that'll spark at some point that'll move me in a certain direction. It's a lot of things that we have and a lot of value that comes out of seeing people like this and talking to them and realizing they're just people like everyone else. They're talented, but they're just people. And that's something important that we need to think about as we move through this entire situation that we're dealing with, because we're all in the same boat, unfortunately. So either way, I'll turn this back over to Colonel Vera, and I appreciate you listening, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Todd. Before we let you go here, there is a question that came out. Is this app specific to SMA or is it countywide?
It is specific to SMA. We had approached the county on several different occasions, and they were not interested at this point. So what we're doing is we're utilizing it on both of our campuses, high school and middle school, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, and the last one for this is, and I think I know the answer is, if families do not use this app, how would they be notified? And my assumption is it would be the old-fashioned telephone calls, correct?
Yeah, it could be telephone call or it could be an email, either way, but there is a way of notification. Absolutely. This isn't the only way, it's the fastest way.
Okay, sir, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take over the program again, and we're going to talk a little bit about transportation. What I am going to tell you is, again, all this information is on our website. So if you have questions as to where do I find this or how do I know to do this, you're going to look at our website. Transportation bus routes are on the website now. It'll have your time and location. Please try to find that. If you are riding a county bus, which again is a county bus, it's not ours. Ours are designated by SMA. You'll see SMA bus 1600. That's obviously ours. If there's a number to the bus that doesn't say SMA, it's a county bus. They are asking you to register for that bus so they know how many people are riding their bus. We are not right now. Our school is not SMA. If you're riding a county bus, you have to go to their website and you register for the bus through their site. Locate your stop, like I said, and your pickup time. Please arrive 5 minutes early. We do not know what busing is going to look like this year as we start to pick our cadets up through town. All right. Parent pickup and drop off will be the same area. The only thing different is we're going to allow our cadets to get on campus at 8:30 this year, which is a little bit of a change because we're going to temperature check and we want to get our cadets on campus as quickly as possible. We did not have an opportunity to hand out car line cards to you. So we will do that in the morning and then again in the afternoon. So do not panic if you do not have a car line card on first day. A reminder to our parents, your cadets must be picked up by no later than 4:45. Our school day ends at 4:15. That's 30 minutes after the final bell. Okay, we would really like everyone picked up by 4:30. 4:45 will be the latest, please. Moving along, athletics will be held. At this point, we are anticipating athletics and clubs to be conducted on campus. Again, things are changing all the time. Our policy for sending cadets home and how long they stayed off campus was changed by the Department of Health. We're now just getting information from our golf schedule. Will be the same season, but it's going to change. It's already online and it has changed because several schools have backed out and we have to rearrange that particular schedule. So again, on a daily basis, please check those the information on athletics and clubs and everything else. Before care forms are online. Our school lunch and breakfast procedures are online in a sense of all the forms that you might need. The menus, the prices are available. Free and reduced lunch are online. Putting money into your cadets account is online. All right, so you're going to go through all those particular things and find them in one of the tiles on our website. Okay, moving along, basic training. We don't have to worry about because we have those cadets. If you are new, we will work with you in a different way. But dealing with schedules, where do we find our schedules? They will find your schedules in the SCS Family Portal. There is also a tile on our website to get to the portal on our website. You need your N number and able to get your schedules. And you should be looking at your schedules because it's going to be very, very important for both campuses. Well, for both either online or distance learners, your schedule will be the same. Okay, so if you're a distance learner, you must get your paper schedule, we call it your online schedule, and you will look through that and you will follow that with the times of the day. Major Curry is going to go over that a little bit more with you a little bit later, but you will follow your schedule, whether you're online or whether you are a on-campus learner. So that is very, very important, okay? I want to go through what a schedule would look like for you briefly. You will have 7 periods in a day. That has not changed. They're 50 minutes long, and then there's a 33-minute lunch built into your schedule, okay? You should see on your schedule 4 core classes: math, science, language, arts, and social studies. That may be labeled something slightly different than that. You will also find on your schedule military studies, which is called engaged citizenship, or design, which is called research. The change this year for our 7th and 8th graders is that you will do that. You will go to those classes on an A, B day schedule. Okay, so if you look on Monday, which would be an A day, you may see engaged citizenship, which is military studies. But on Tuesday, you'll see research. That's accurate. And then every other day, you will move to within those particular classes. Okay, you will also see world language on your schedule. Now, some 8th graders will not see Chinese on their schedule like they thought they were going to, but you'll see world language, Spanish or Chinese, or intensive reading or intensive math. Okay, that will be another class. So you have 4 cores. Military studies and design is number 5. Your world language is number 6, or your intensive class, number 6. And number 7 will be your elective or your PE. You'll only get one of those. You only see one of those. They're semester classes. So you may see art, band, digital arts, or you will see physical education, which is listed as GRD, comprehensive, GRD. Okay, so that's what your schedule would look like. The only people we want to hear from right now is if you do not have a full schedule, or you have 2 math classes that you're not supposed to have, not intensive. If you have 2 English classes, or you don't have a science class, we need to get those schedules accurate. Not, I want to have math period 2 and not period 5, or I want Captain so-and-so as my teacher. I want A lunch instead of B lunch. We can't handle those requests right now. One of the things that you will be able to see on your schedules, when you look at your schedules, it does not have the lunch dictated to you when that action would be. But if you go on, whether you're a distance learner or an on-campus learner, if you go on to the distance learning tile on our website, you will see specifically what those times are for your lunch. You cadets have been on this campus before, so you will probably know what you're doing. But for 8th grade, we do divide our 8th grade in for lunch. So you will see specifically your 4th period teacher and who has lunch during A or B lunch. Okay, that is online for you to see. Okay, so at this time, I am now going to move the program over to Major Morris to talk to you a little bit more about some technology.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to talk briefly because most of you are returning students. However, I will touch upon some of the items for our new incoming 7th and 8th grade cadets. As you all are aware, we are a G Suite for Education school. So we have some upgrades coming this year. Along with that, we are going to move forward to the enterprise level edition, which will add some additional features for our Google Meets and a couple of other areas that will allow teachers to provide some engaging lessons and opportunities. Along with that, we have multiple safety tools in place. As many of you already know, that when you're given a school account, it's really meant to be used for school work and learning. And if you find yourself using it for other reasons, the filters can easily pick it up, even if you try to trick it with leaving blanks or whatnot. You've learned, you've gotten some warning messages. So keep that in mind when you're not going to re-sign your technology appropriate use agreement, because the one you signed when you first received your account, for those of you returning, carries with you all the way through this year and through high school as well. But for the new students, in order to get your account, you're going to have to sign that tech appropriate use agreement. And then once you have that, I'll be able to provide you with the password. So we're kind of having to break that typical sync cycle. So usually what would happen is all the students come to school, the new ones as well, and you would log into our network and receive your Active Directory account in order to access the network. And then that automatically syncs with the Google account. But because we obviously, for many, are not even going to be coming onto campus, we had to kind of break that chain and give you your Google password ahead of time. So it's a bit of a slow process, but we are doing our best to try to reach everybody. If you are a distance learner, we're really trying to focus on our distance learners first, but if you're a distance learner and you're new and you don't have your password, or if you're a returning student and you need to have it reset and you're going to be doing distance learning as well, please feel free to call our school. We have all the passwords ready to go, and we can provide that for you if you haven't heard from us yet, or if you're having any issues whatsoever. And then for those who are returning to campus, if you could hold off, because we will go ahead and do like we normally do and help you take care of that once you return to school, and that'll give us an opportunity to make sure that our distance learners are ready to go. For those who are distance learning as well, we have a limited supply, but if you need a device, we provided the link for you to place your request. Once you complete that request, you can immediately plan to come, that will trigger the form for us here at school, and you can come down to school. If you want to call just to be sure, feel free to call our office and just double check that it's ready, but you can come and pick up the device during our office hours. For the new families who may have not received their school account yet, that's one of the questions on there. So for 7th graders, your school email is formatted with 26, which is the 2-digit graduation year, last name, first initial of your first name at oursma.org. And for 8th graders, it's going to be 25, last name, first initial of your first name at oursma.org. So if I were a 7th grade student, it would look like 26 Morris B at oursma.org as an example. For one other thing, for our 7th graders, we are going to go ahead and issue for our on-campus 7th graders iPads again. We'll wait probably for at least a week or two just to make sure everything's settled before we go through that process. But once we're ready to issue those school iPads to our 7th grade students, you will receive a notice so that you can again sign for that agreement, that you understand the requirements of taking care of that device, and then we'll make sure that you have that available to you. Something new this year for those who are returning, for our Google Classrooms, we actually are going to be able to provide parents and guardians what they call guardian access. This doesn't let you see the same perspective that your child, the students see, but what it does provide you with is either a daily or a weekly report of what your child is doing and what maybe they're not doing. So it's a very handy tool. if you're interested in being able to follow along with your child and making sure that they're keeping up with their assignments, especially a good tool for our distance learners and families. The last link is just a link to one of our newsletters that had some of the available links that I mentioned available, but we also have it available to you now on the website. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email or call, and we'll see what we can do to take care of it.
Okay, thank you so much, Major Morris. This time, can we have Major Curry come on and talk to us a little bit? Thank you.
Okay, hi there. Good evening, everyone. I'm noticing, which I think is a good thing, I think there are many cadets out there viewing this, this presentation. I think that's great because at the end of the day, it's all about you, right? And it's all about you understanding how things are going to work and getting used to a new normal, as we all are. So those distance learners that are starting off the school year as distance learners, it is going to be a different experience than quarter four. Quarter four was what we call crisis distance learning, meaning we were all thrown into it and we were all working it out. Now it's very much going to be like what it would be like on campus, but you will be working from home. All of your, as Colonel Vera was saying, all of your classes, you need to attend them on time per your schedule. And just like you would on campus when you would need to show up to the classroom on time and ready to go, your classroom in this case is Google Classroom. Basically, as returning students, for those of you returning, you will know that you're familiar with Google Classroom and you are aware of the Google Meet option in the top left corner of each classroom page. That is really how you're going to show up to class, right? That's how we're going to start to take attendance. And there may also be a very simple form that you click on to say, I'm here as well. So it'll be a two-part process. What you basically need to do for the first day of school is if you remember your password and you're in your account, you need to go into your, through Clever, go into your email, go into your classrooms and join your new classrooms, your new Google Classrooms. We understand that as we're getting back into our routine, there may be some password resets needed. If that is the case, you can, actually, Major Morris, what's the best procedure for for Google resets at this point? Calling in, or what do you think?
If you're talking about for distance learners, is that what you said?
Yes.
For distance learners, we're gonna set up a process for them to be able to request a password. More than likely, it will be to have their parents maybe fill in the form again, like we had in the past, or just simply call in at this point because there's less, so we can certainly be able to handle daily call-ins.
Right, thank you. So if you remember your login, go ahead and log in and start looking at email, join your classrooms. That's really what you need to do in preparation. If you are having an issue, go ahead and call the front office and we will manage that for distance learners. Now, if you're an on-campus learner and you forgot your password, we're gonna work with you when you're on campus. And as you know, at the start of every school year, we all forget our passwords, many of us. And so if you would wait until you're on campus, we can get you back up and running in that way. The other thing we want to keep in mind is kind of as Dr. Brown was speaking of, we're starting, some of us on campus, some of us off. After quarter one, some students may return, or at that point, maybe we're all off campus again. The future is unknown. So that is why the Google Classroom, your goal overall is to become experts in Google Classroom. And many of you started to master those skills during quarter four. But it's going to be the same for on-campus learners, because the idea is there shouldn't be any sort of disruption if we do have to move off campus. or if students after Q1 come back onto campus. We want to try to have as much consistency as possible. We talk a lot about self-directed learning. All of our 7th and 8th graders, especially those returning, it's really about you stepping up and taking ownership of your learning. And that means more now than it ever has. And those of you who experienced Q4 and persevered through that, you guys are gonna really be ahead here. And those who are ready to take that challenge now, as we start this school year, it's ready to go. And it's really about you taking the lead and asking questions, right? So you're gonna have your email accounts, you're gonna have that communication tool with your teachers. And that goes for any student, but certainly our distance learners. We are continuing, although we let it go in Q4, the whole county did. We're going back to the family portal for your grades. In Google Classroom, there will be no number grades. You will be provided feedback based on your assignments. Once again, this is for distance and on campus. You will also have weekly topics in your Google Classroom so that week 1, week 2 with those dates, you'll know whether you're on campus or off campus, what work you're focusing on for each class during those dates that week. So that will help focus you into organizing your time to complete those assignments and that work. I'm also going to be offering some upcoming parent guardian webinars as we get into assessment. I'd like to bring Dr. Brown into those as we start to get into some of the more project-based learning. As we all know, these first couple weeks, regardless of where you're learning from, we're all transitioning. So that's a process and it's going to take some time. Remain informed, and also I'm going to give you a place to go, some places where you can actively seek updates and new information. And while we're talking about many cadets being online on this meeting tonight, I encourage the cadets to join our weekly newsletter because that's what many of your parents get. But if you join the newsletter, guess what? You're going to be in the know. You just go to our website and sign up using your RSMA. And you will be caught up because at this point, you need to know what's happening with your things too, not just your parents. The other quick link, when you're on the home page, and you could do this through your phone, if you go to SMA Prep directly, it's going to take you to all the things that some of you are asking about, supply lists being one of them. Supply lists, if you're at home, you need your basic things, paper, pencil, maybe your math class might need a calculator, but you're also going to have a device of some kind. So you're kind of covered there. So that's going to be as makes sense for what you're doing in your classes. If you're on campus, we did put the supply list out there, but you have to remember that you're not going to be sharing materials on campus. So you don't need everything on the list in your backpack, but you definitely need your basics, pen, pencil, you're going to need some paper, a binder, and you're going to need to have those basics. And as you get started with your teachers, they're going to inform you if there's anything extra that you really, really, really must have. Athletics forms are here. Distance learning is here. Once again, just go to SMA Prep and it goes directly to this page, but the page itself is parent quick links. If you go to distance learning, and this is where I'm going to turn it back over to Colonel Vera after this piece, what Major Morris was talking about, here's where you can find those for new students, and devices are only for distance learners, but this is where you can find those forms and that information. This will be for distance learners. This is your hub, SMA Prep Distance Learning, bookmark it. Right now I have the basics. Many of you have seen these boxes before. Here is the bell schedule that's defined, so you can see exactly the times of day for any student, but certainly for distance learners, that you can't just have lunch whenever you want, because then you're going to be late for your next period. So that's kind of why you need to be on your schedule. There will be tutorials added here. There will be screencasts to show you how to get around if you forgot. So this is a place that everybody who's distance learning, for sure, you need to pretty much check this every day, as things will be updated up to a point. Maybe after the first few weeks of school, it'll be settled, but please use this as your hub. So if you have a question, before you ask anybody, check here first to make sure it's not already there. All right, Colonel Vera, I'm going to turn it back to you if you want to follow up with something, and then there's some questions.
Thank you so much. That bell schedule is very important to take a look at, even though it's in distance learning. Even if you're an on-campus person, it can't hurt you to look at it just so, can you click on it just briefly, just so they can just quickly see it and scroll down just a bit. So you'll see right there, if you're a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, exactly what your schedule will look like, and with my period and time, so there's no confusion. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. As I start to wrap up before we get to Q&A here, number one, tomorrow is the last day you can change your learning status by 2 p.m. tomorrow. So if you are a distance learner, no problem. For the next 9 weeks, you're a distance learner until the first quarter ends. Same thing with an on-campus learner. Okay, we have 600 cadets that are registered to go to school here, and we cannot have people week in and week out bouncing in and out. We just cannot keep track of that. That's not good for anybody at this point. Right now we have approximately 60% on-campus learners. So out of that 600 people, we're in that 400 range-ish. We're still waiting for a few more final numbers, 200 onliners-ish in that neighborhood there. Okay, so we need to, tomorrow's the last day to make that decision, please. Just for our DL learners, our distance learners, it is not going to be like it was in the fourth quarter. Please, this is not, I know Major Courier told you this. It's not going to be, I'm going to go to the beach all day and I'm going to do my math assignment at 7 o'clock at night. It cannot be that way. You need to be in every class all day long, signed in on time. And in the fourth quarter, basically, we were at a 70 and higher if we were online. That is not the way it's going to be this year. You are going to, your assessments will reflect what you earned. Okay. So you are going to have to work and be diligent. Our goal is to make sure our online learners get the same education as our cadets on this campus. Okay. So please keep that in mind. Email me with any schedule problems, the ones we talked about before. Your schedule's not right, not a request, only with an issue with your schedule. Email me directly and I will start to work on that for you. Please make sure all your information is accurate. This is parents I'm talking about in SIS. So if we need to get in touch with you, whether it be an emergency or for attendance or even an academic question, we need to be able to get in touch with you, in moments notice. So your emails are accurate, your phone numbers are accurate, even your addresses are accurate. I know people move and change phone numbers. Please make sure that information is accurate in our system. Okay, that wraps it up for the program tonight. We are now going to get into Q&A, and Major is going to kind of facilitate that for us.
Okay, electronics on buses. From my remembrance, sometimes it changes. Is there an official start of the year, how they're handling that?
The technical rule is no electronics on a bus is being used, right? So again, we have county buses that have different procedures, but that's a technical answer to that question. But each bus driver will allow you to do certain things, just like different teachers will allow certain things to happen in their classroom. So you need to find out from your bus driver. My personal stance is if you have your music on with a headphone on quietly that no one else could hear that, and if the bus driver is okay with it, I am as well.
Okay. And then headphones on campus, we're looking for plugins. So no wireless, nothing expensive, just your earbuds or your headphones that plug in there. Can students bring their own masks, Colonel Lee?
All right, as far as the uniform things, yes, you can bring your own masks. We kind of asking to look at the dress down day policy. If you can put it on a t-shirt, you can put it on a mask. So you can wear your Tampa Bay Lightning masks. But we don't want to see anything that's offensive, rude, scary, creepy, politically motivated. If you can wear it on a shirt, you can probably wear it on a mask. But as always, we'd like to see conservative. That's always the easiest and best for us.
And
And I know
SMA, good.
There is another question further on about spirit wear. Even during the first 2 weeks, I think we're okay wearing spirit wear on Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but just on that last answer on the masks, SMA will be handing one mask out to every cadet in their homeroom. So they would still need to get to campus on Monday with their own mask, and we will give them one that's washable and that's acceptable for our campus as well.
Okay, and then how will online classes work? I kind of gave the overview. Basically, your first step is to make sure you can get back in your RSMA account, check your through Clever, go through Clever, clean up your email if needed, and join your classrooms. And then on Monday, you are at this point, for those of you in and ready to go, you're to log into Google Meet at the beginning of your class period, each one. And that's where the bell schedule will help you out on that distance learning page.
Yes.
Another thing to point out, it doesn't mean that you're going to be staring at a screen for 7-8 hours a day. It does mean, though, that you're on a schedule. You're on a school schedule. So you will be checking in with every class on time according to the start time of that class period. However, just like in a regular classroom, a teacher doesn't talk to you for 50 minutes a day. They will often give you instructions, give you a starting point, and have you go to work on your own. So that will be kind of how this will go, depending on how the teacher's rhythm and routine goes. All right, and that's where you need to be attentive if you're a distance learner and really understand, okay, the teacher is saying, I'm going to now work on my own at home. Then you need to be diligent and responsible and work on that work just like the students in the classroom will be doing. Okay, and you'll get used to all of that as it goes forward. So there was a question, we may have answered it, but I might have missed it too. If virtual distance learners want to participate in a club, it depends on the club in my mind. I mean, if a club can meet virtually, that could work. But as far as a sports club or those kinds of things, Colonel Vera, you want to take that?
Yes, we are allowing cadets to, even though you're a virtual learner, to come on campus and be part of a sports team or a club. Now, if you want to do it virtually, again, just like Major Curry said, that may be tricky. It may or may not be able to happen with every one of our clubs. That will be a club by club decision.
Okay, there is morning care. That is, you need the form, and it is right here on your handy quick links page. If you have any questions, you can call the front office about that. Yes, if you're a new 8th grade or a new 7th grade cadet, you can participate in our basic training. We just need you to RSVP, and you can do that. Actually, you can do that on our homepage. Well, let me go back. You can actually do it here. You can do it on this link, and you will come down to RSVP for basic training. Do that preferably tonight so we can prepare.
Yes, tonight, please.
If you have an issue with the schedule, contact Colonel Vera. Yeah, so I addressed this question. It was asked about, does the child follow along with the teacher the entire class? Not necessarily. They will be, attendance will be taken. So if a student is not showing up or if they're late, they will be absent or tardy, just like they would on campus. But it doesn't mean that the student is going to be watching that teacher move around if it is not needed.
Well, yes.
We'll have access to, if there's an introduction to something, the student will have access to the teacher to ask questions. So that will definitely be, and I would give this a couple weeks for the classroom teachers and the students to kind of get their system, how their routine is going to go. And then if you still have questions, you can ask us.
Right. So just to answer that a little bit further, the teacher will be the one making that decision, not the cadet. So yeah, if the teacher for whatever reason is talking for 50 minutes, then you would be in there for 50 minutes with that teacher.
Right. Okay. And
Can I jump in on the masks again?
yeah.
I see a couple. Can you wear a mask that covers your neck? You cannot wear solely a neck gaiter or buff, the ones that would be a sleeve that goes over your neck. You have to have a cloth around the ears mask. Or actually cloth or the paper surgical disposables are okay. But again, they have to be an around the ear mask. No buffs or neck gaiters are allowed. And yes, when you're wearing a polo uniform, you can wear any sneakers you want. They have to be two of the same sneaker though.
Okay, and I had another question about every distance learner student will need to use Google Meet once they get into the classroom. The Google Meet right now, and that is something that you will need to look, because I'm going to post it tomorrow when the other students are having their orientation on campus. I'm going to put some information on this distance learning page. The students are in their accounts come period 1 or homeroom 9:15 on Monday morning. You should be clicking on the Google Meet link in your period 1 class. And you would do that for every period after that. If you have more questions, look on the distance learning page tomorrow afternoon. It should be posted there. And if you have more questions, you can email me directly. If you have parent portal questions, and once again, 7th and 8th graders, especially if you're returning, you need to be in there. Your parents have an account, you need your account. And you need to make sure you can get into it. So practice getting in, make sure you can get in, because you're responsible for you, and your parents are there to support you, but you need to know your status and where you are with your classes. Is there an approximate date when Ducks Unlimited will start?
No, we do not have an answer to that yet. We will then post all the updates in our club part on the website.
Okay. Yeah, if you're having issues with the parent portal, you can try to call our front desk. You may need to reset a password, or if you need an N number, we can help you with that. And we'll have to just take those from there and see where we get to.
Dress down days. Yes, we will be conducting dress down days on our campus again this year. We just have not set any specific dates at this point.
Right. Is there a place that you can check if you're registered as an on-campus student? At this point, Major Morris, do you want to take that one? Because you're...
I don't know. I would just, you could email me or call the front desk tomorrow. We have all the names that are listed in there. I'd be able to check for you if you email me as well.
Right. Yeah. Because we're having, we have a working list.
Yes.
So whatever your status is, yeah, I guess the front desk could give you that. When will new cadets get their name tags? You will get them over the first couple weeks of school, most likely, as we get those orders in. Uniforms, that's why we're focusing on the first 2 weeks with polo, because we want to get everything else, your routines built in, your online status, and you guys returning know all about the uniform and those kind of things. So those things will fall into place over the first 2 weeks as well. All right.
Okay, that looks
think we're
good,
good.
right? Are we
Yep.
good? Okay.
That's it.
Yes, we good? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being with us tonight. This is going to be a year like no other. So flexibility and patience is going to be the key for all of us. There's going to be technology issues, as we're already seeing. Parent portals are down, things along those kind of things. It is going to happen. The first day, we may have an issue with online learners trying to get into our Google classrooms. We just don't know what that's going to look like with 200 cadets trying to get there. And we did it with more last year, but we don't know. So again, thank you so much for your time, your patience, your energy, your enthusiasm, dedication, support of our academy. And any questions, email would probably be the best to get started because we are going to be inundated with a lot of phone calls, but we're still taking phone calls as well. And we wish everyone a great start to our school year and good luck to our cadets. And we will see you on Monday, either in person or online. Okay, thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.